Plaintiff Robert Morozic says when he started dating the defendant, she was pregnant with another man's baby. Robert claims after they got engaged, the defendant cheated while he was in jail, so they broke up, and he's suing her for the value of an engagement ring. Defendant Justice Allen says 4 months after she started dating Robert, he introduced her to meth and heroin. And after she gave birth to their daughter, both of her children were taken away due to her drug addiction. Justice is countersuing Robert for unreturned property.
Start with you.
Well, I'm gonna start off. In 2003, I was paralyzed in a motocross accident. So I'm paralyzed from the chest down. That's kind of, started getting prescribed a lot of pain medication. That's where some of my addiction issues started. I ended up moving out of my parents' house in 2014. Moved out to an apartment. That's where I met Justice. And she was pregnant at the time. I didn't know if I wanted to take on that father role at first, but I decided, I wanted to pursue the relationship. And everything was going good for about a year or so. And then I found out she was cheating on me.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
How did you find that out? I'll get to
pictures on Facebook that I seen.
What kind of pictures?
Sitting on a motorcycle with another man.
What did she say?
She denied it.
Why isn't that believable?
Just because other people had told me that, she was pursuing relationship with that guy that she was on the motorcycle
good enough.
with.
You heard from others that she was involved with that guy. Okay. Tried to help you, didn't work. All right. And where did things go from there?
We ended up sitting down and talking, and she promised me to be faithful after that, and so I kind of took her back. Well, at that time, I thought it'd be a good time to propose to her.
Let me hear some background from you.
Well, 2014, I met Robert through a mutual friend. And it was 4 or 5 months after I had met him that I found out he was addicted to oxycodone, meth, and heroin. I was curious and I asked him how it made him feel, and I started using with him.
Okay.
My son was very, very little.
So for 4, 5, 6 months, he was on meth, heroin, and Oxycontin, and it was all right.
I didn't find out about the meth until after I had already started using the oxycodone.
All right. Tell me about this engagement ring, sir.
It was...
You presented her an engagement ring when?
I think it was October 2017.
And that's the same time that you proposed to her?
No, I had proposed in 2015. I told her to get one at a later date, and we went to the jewelry
2 years later.
That's when I gave it to her, but we went to the jewelry store a little bit after I proposed, and we picked one out, and I was making payments on it.
Got it. And then what happened?
I ended up going to prison in November 2017. I went for 6 months. When I was in prison, I found out that she was seeing another man too.
How'd you find it out this time?
I had people telling me, and then when I got out, someone showed me pictures.
Okay, what did the pictures show?
That heart emojis,
Okay. And you asked her about it, and what did she say?
She said it was just a friend.
Okay.
And it was 4 or 5 months after I had met him that I found out he was addicted to oxycodone, meth, and heroin. I was curious and I asked him how it made him feel, and I started using with him.
So for 4, 5, 6 months, he was on meth, heroin, and Oxycontin, and it was all right.
Defendant Justice Allen says while dating the plaintiff, he introduced her to meth and heroin. And as a result of her addiction, she temporarily lost custody of her children.
Where did things go from there?
They were going good up until about January of 2019.
And so what happened?
Well, I had my daughter for the weekend, and she wanted me to watch her another night. Well, she called me and asked me to watch her another night. It wasn't planned out, so I kind of got upset. And we had gotten an argument, and she said she's just going to come and pick her daughter up. Well, then when she came in, she stormed in the house. My daughter was sitting on the high chair eating, and she just ripped her out of the high chair, grabbed some of her belongings. She said that we're done, the relationship is over.
Okay.
So.
All right. Let me hear from you.
It was less than a year after our relationship started that we both were using at the same time. We used for about 10 months or so, and then we had planned and got pregnant with our daughter. At that point, I had quit using and was staying sober throughout my pregnancy.
You just stopped?
And I stopped. I was getting sick of the fighting, and I was tired of the...
Couldn't convince him to quit?
Your Honor,
I tried to. I tried to convince him to quit, and he was way too wrapped up into the selling and the money and the people. And
he was making a lot of money selling drugs?
He was making a lot of money selling, yes.
Okay.
And
you
after
quit,
a while,
and then what?
I relapsed while I was pregnant. And no, I'm not proud of relapsing while pregnant. And then a week and a half later, I had my daughter, and I had tested positive for methamphetamines and heroin and marijuana. And so a week later, they came in and they took my children away. Robert had not stopped using. He had only got worse. This dealing got worse. The using got worse. And we went out to the casino 2 weeks after they had gotten taken away, and he had thrown me under the bus for 47 grams of heroin, which he is currently going to court for, and I have been cleared of all charges. I went to treatment in September of 2016, and in January, I was switched over to a halfway journey home, and I got my daughter back at the end of January. And shortly after, I got my son back because I had passed drug tests. I had done everything that I needed to do.
Your Honor.
After I had gotten out of halfway, Bob offered me heroin, and I relapsed again.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Tell me the circumstances about him offering you heroin, though.
He was still using.
Where did you see him? Where did y'all encounter
I
him?
went over to his parents' house where he was still living. And I went over there, and we were in the garage, and he was getting high in front of me. And he offered it to me, and being madly in love with him, I said yes.
That's not the reason, ma'am. Don't try to run that.
And because I was not strong enough in my recovery.
There you go. Well, then that's what it is. It had nothing to do with love. You saw it, and you were overwhelmed, and that's nearly impossible to resist, from what I'm told. Don't put it any way other than what it is. It wasn't for love. It was because he had put something in your face that most human beings who have been addicted, the overwhelming number, would not be able to turn it down if it's right there in their face. Wouldn't be able to. All right, and so I understand that. How long did that last, though? Were you able to come back and stop?
That happened in May 2017, and I started using again consistently for until November.
Were you going to your NA meetings?
At that point, I had stopped.
That's the problem. But let's move on to what happened with the relationship.
I'm going to go back to 2015 before our daughter was conceived. October 9th, 2015, I proposed to him drunk. I was wasted, and he told me, "Ask me in the morning when you are sober." I stayed up. I stayed up all night.
Until you got sober?
I stayed up all night until I was sober. And when he opened his eyes, I asked him again, and he said yes. I called my mother, Cheryl, who is here with me today.
Whatever the case, you all got engaged. Then what happened from there?
Defendant Justice Allen says while dating the plaintiff, he introduced her to meth and heroin. And as a result of her addiction, she temporarily lost custody of her children.
The ring issue, that's where we're at. He's suing to get his ring back. What happened?
I asked my mom if we could use her ring, and he said that he didn't feel man enough without a ring that he had bought. And
Did he
that
buy you one or not?
Not as an engagement ring.
Yes.
Okay, so you all got engaged. Sometime thereafter, he bought you a ring. But even though you all were engaged, he buys you a non-engagement ring. So what did you say to that? Okay, let's go to what happened, so. Yeah, she knows what she said didn't make sense, and she thought and still can't make sense of it. Because she said, I know the judge know this up and down. He know all game, and I'm trying to put it on him, and he's seeing through it before I thought he would. Go ahead, sir. What happened? You tell me. You gave her an engagement ring. You say it was. And then what happened? You all broke up, and you asked for it back?
Yes, I did a couple times, and she told me she had got rid of it. So I don't,
Okay. She did acknowledge at some point
Yes.
it was an engagement ring.
Yes.
You did acknowledge at some point?
I acknowledged that I had a ring.
Okay, that means no. You never acknowledged you had an engagement ring. Okay, there it is. You got communications over there. Any of that speak of an engagement ring?
No,
Nothing mentions the word engagement?
I have an appraisal paper that says engagement
Let me
ring.
see.
Okay.
Yeah, and the appraiser did mark it as an engagement ring.
Your
You
Honor.
said, was it? Yes, ma'am.
Can
Anything
I
else
ask
from
the
you?
date on that appraisal? I have a new appraisal from 2019, and on
see it?
here it says that it is a ladies' fashion ring, and I was emailing the person who gave me the appraisal, so there's proof of that too.
Okay.
And the ring is in both of our names, not just his.
It's the exact same store, and you called them and said change it to a ladies' fashion ring,
Yes.
and they did it.
Because
And that
Bob's
was
name,
right before coming to court.
Oh my God.
This one is in 2017, where
Because-
they marked engagement. Anything else? Because you're acting more and more like a dope fiend, like you've relapsed another time. You keep relapsing and you keep lying. Your counterclaim for $990 is for what? How does he owe you?
the phone is mine, it's in my name.
I don't know what phone you're talking about.
He's got a Galaxy S9 Plus that's in my name, and I have paid for all of it. It all has come out of
When
my
did you
account.
get it?
I got it in May of 2017 when he got out
Okay.
of prison.
You've asked for it back and he won't give it to
He
you?
won't give it back.
Okay.
There's a few cash payments that were paid, and
All right, sir.
I have some text messages. I told her, like, if the phone's under contract under her name. I said if the relationship ever goes, like, I will still pay you. But she shut the phone off a day after the relationship ended. And I have text between her and I on January 23rd. And I said, since I paid almost $400 for the phone already, because it was under contract, I was paying $40 a month, that you just want $580 for your part of the phone. And she sent me a picture of the bill of what she owes, and she says that's $580, and that's how much I want.
Okay, and so that's what you're saying. You will agree to the 580.
Yes.
Let me see that. Did you do this, ma'am?
Yep.
Did you tell him that?
I told him I needed it by the 1st if he wanted the rest
Yeah,
of
but
the
the final
phone.
agreement was if that.
Except for I never got the money.
Okay, you're gonna get it today, and he's gonna get his. How about that? $5,000 for the plaintiff for your engagement ring. The law is, if you're engaged, that's a conditional gift, and if it doesn't happen, you give the ring back. That's the law. And with regard to this phone, you admit that you owed her some, so I'm gonna grant your judgment, and I'm going to grant $581.10. Have a good day.
Everybody's seen through her lies, so I don't know. I feel good.